The show where anything goes. Motivation, mindset, recovery, philosophy, and life. We become who we are through what we experience. We all have a story, and this is My Backstory with Josh Boyer.
There we go. My Backstory podcast with Sean Whalen. Man, I'm super excited about this episode, as are a lot of people that have been following me. They're super pumped to hear your story. So,
oh yeah.
Just a little bit about Sean for those of you that don't know. He's he's an author. He's a dad. He's the CEO and the founder of Lions Not Sheep, business coach, consultant, keynote speaker, just to name a few. So I'm going to let Sean share with you guys his story, starting from the very beginning and kind of where he is now. So
the very beginning, I mean, how long are these fucking episodes, bro? We could be here for
as long as you want it to be, man. We're good.
Yeah, I want to help people with more practical stuff. I mean, my story is pretty easy to find. You can Google me, you can read my book and know all the shit. But I was I don't want to say typical story, but grew up in a single parent home. Dad wasn't around, mom, the whole deal. And I got in a ton of trouble and was into drugs and all kinds of other shit. But finally decided to pull my head out of my ass, and I was really successful as a young entrepreneur because candidly I was just too dumb to fail. I didn't know any different, and so I started making a lot of money in my early 20s and owned a mortgage company, and then did a lot of investing and was building and developing stuff. And the market took a shit in 2008, and I was pretty much all in the real estate space. And so one of my companies was crashing and going through bankruptcy, and the other one was exploding with growth. And I talk about in my book how I felt like I was juggling bowling balls, and to take it all the way back to the real beginning, it's kind of like I'm very similar to most men today, which is we've all been programmed the same way, like sit down, quiet down, slow down. Men just, we just get up and do our shit. We don't cry. We don't talk about that stuff, like handle your shit. And it was a really dark period of my life because I was going through a lot of stuff. I felt like when I was at work, I needed to be at home. When I was at home, I needed to be at work. And I had this family, and then I had 170 employees, and I had creditors and banks and millions of dollars in money. And, the game that we're all playing, right? The success game. I was winning because I had the cars, and I had the houses, and I had the Rolexes. And inside, I was completely fucking miserable. I didn't know who I was. I didn't really know why I was doing everything. I just knew that based off of the rules of this game, I was winning, or so I thought. And I went through a midlife crisis. Now, I don't really know what a midlife crisis is. Okay, you can Google it. I don't know. But I left my business. I left my marriage. I went through extraordinary depression. I felt really sorry for myself. I was a total victim. I was a total asshole to the point where one night I drank myself to oblivion, and I ended up putting a Ruger P95 in my mouth and almost ended my life. And it was kind of the old cartoonish where you have the angel and the devil, and I'm going back and forth about, well, you fucked everything up, and maybe it'd be better your kids. My 3 kids were young enough that they wouldn't really remember me, and then a normal guy could come along and help raise them and give them a normal life. And then there was like, no, this will be part of your story, and la 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 la. Well, I ended up waking up the next morning, and I did something that I had never done before, which was reach out for help. I didn't have an addiction. My ex-wife and I just separated because we just grew apart. There was no infidelity. There was no drugs. It wasn't like a lot of the shit that you hear about from other people and other stories. We just went this way. And I went on a journey, and I spent almost 2 years trying to figure out who the fuck I was and why I was even here. Not, how do I make money? How do you rebuild from the ashes? But like, why am I even fucking here? Yeah. Like on this giant rock that's flying through the cosmos, that we haven't found the edges to. Like, why am I even here? Yeah, I got kids, and I'm a dad, and I'm a guy, and I'm a speaker, and I'm a whatever. But like, what the fuck is this entire game about? Yeah. And I went on this journey, and I started really diving into me and understanding like who I was and really asking tougher questions of myself. And I hired a coach and coaches and started going through this experience. And one day one of my coaches, he challenged me to start sharing some of my story. Like I went from just being this rogue dude who would wake up in the morning, slam my coffee, go crush the day, and da-da-da-da, to like, and start meditating. What the fuck is meditating? Who meditates, right? Yeah. Fucking hippies do that shit. You do that at Burning Man. I started studying. I started like getting introspective. You know, I grew up in a Catholic family. I converted to the Mormon church when I was a teenager because when my parents split up, my mom was Mormon, my dad was Catholic. And so I grew up believing in God, you know, but I never really had a relationship with him, right? It was like, hey, you just pray and do your thing, and that's what it is. And I went on this journey, and through all of this, I realized just how full of shit I was, how, you know, people would say, how you doing? I'm good. Really, I wasn't good, you know, or I would fake it till I made it, right? Like I might not know the answer, but I would bullshit my way until I figured out what it was, or, you know, the whole thing. And this is really what men have been taught. We've been taught to lie. I don't care who you are. I don't care how big your dick is. I don't care what family you come from. I don't care how much money you have. We were all raised the exact same way, which is to lie. You know, sit down, quiet down, slow down. Think about when you're a little kid. If you have to go to the bathroom, you have to ask permission. And what's ingrained in our brain since we're children? Like, don't say anything that's going to make anybody else uncomfortable. Right? Don't ask the questions. I remember being a kid, like asking the father questions at church, and my dad would be like, "Oh, just leave." His father, he's just a curious little kid. Like, shut up, kid. And I'm like, no, like I want to know. You know what I mean? But when we're little kids, we're programmed not to do these things. Now, as adults, we're like, yeah, I want my kids to explore. Bullshit. We do the same fucking thing. We're programming our children the same way. I don't care if your kid's in private school or public school. We're teaching the exact same thing. Jesus, turn on the fucking news. Everybody's offended about everything nowadays. You can't say anything or else you piss somebody off. I posted a picture yesterday, not to go off track here. I posted a picture of my girlfriend and I snuggling in bed. And I like had pizza on my mind, and I put an emoji of pizza, and people flew off the fucking reservation about pedophilia and all this other shit. And I'm like, do you know who the fuck I am? Do you know that I go on operations to rescue little kids? And you think I'm putting a piece of pizza because of fucking pedophile? Like, you're so fucking far gone in your brain that a piece of pizza represents something from a dude that you know fucking fights that. Moral of the story is, like, we don't say anything anymore, so we're just this muted culture, yet we're screaming for what? And what I have found is there's a reason that more men in 2018 killed themselves than ever before in the history of this country. It's a really fascinating thing to take a look at and to observe. It's not because there's a lack of money or lack of ass, you know, chicks, whatever we want.
Yeah.
It's because we're fucking full of shit, because we're lying. We're lying about who we are. We're lying about what we really want. We're lying about our goals and our aspirations. We're lying about what really burns inside of us, what we really think and what we really feel. Marriages are falling apart over sex when we all want sex. We all want connection, yet we don't talk about it because it's not socially acceptable, or it's weird. Or if you say this, she's going to think that, or he said, it's just this fucking insanity. And a number of years ago, I started to wrap my head around this. And one night, as I picked up my kids after a really long and crazy divorce, and we started to rebuild everything, I wrote just this Facebook post, and I posted this picture of me with my ex-wife's new baby. And I just, for the first time, I told my truth. I was like, dude, I was a dick. Like, I said some really dumb shit. I was just I was just an angry, fucking bitter dude.
Yeah.
Have you ever known anybody gone through a divorce? They're angry assholes. We're fucking angry assholes. We all are. I don't care. No, I wasn't. Dude, it doesn't matter what she did. Like, that was the lesson that I learned. And that was the very first time in that Facebook post that I told the truth. And I didn't say, but. Yeah, I said these things, but it was because she was a bitch. But it was because, no, I just told the truth. I just said, yeah, I was angry. And I didn't know what was up and what was down. I was in a dark place. I was suicidal. And I didn't know how to get to the other side. And the next morning I woke up, and at the time I had like 200 friends on Facebook, and I was not coaching. I wasn't consulting. I didn't write a book. None of this stuff. I was just still kind of kicking around real estate.
Right.
And I remember that post having a 1K next to it. And I was like, what the fuck does 1K mean, right? Like, I had 20 people that liked my stuff because I was just always posting dumb shit. Yeah. And every hour for the next 2 weeks, that post had over 10,000 likes. It was shared by tens of millions of people. I went from having 200 people, friends, to almost 40,000 followers in 2 weeks. Like, literally hundreds and hundreds of messages, people going, oh my God, you're so amazing. How did you do this? How did you figure it out? I'm like, dude, pump the fucking brakes. Like, yo, call Dr. Phil. You got the wrong fucking dude, man. I told you how big of a dick I was. Why are you coming to me for fucking advice? You know? And it's just been, and since that, it was almost 5 years ago. Since then, almost 1 billion people have watched my videos online. Awesome. Literally hundreds of millions of engagements. on posts that I've put on Instagram and Facebook. And I learned something in that post. I learned two things after that thing went viral, and it's been pounded into my brain over the last couple of years, even further. And the two things that I realized is that millions and millions and millions of people resonated with me. And it was like, yeah, but I told you I was a dick. Like, we're used to filters and happy faces, and look at my family, and look at my Mercedes Benz, and look at my money. And like, we're used to this fucking highlight reel. And I was like, how the fuck did so many people like this and resonate with it and talk about how they felt it and it helped change them? I'm like, dude, I shared with you my darkness. And I realized in that period of time, like, and since then, like, that my mess literally has become my message. Like, the ticket to like my liberation, my freedom, my weightless feeling, if you will, that light is not keeping all that stuff that I'm afraid to talk about bottled up and sharing it. And I was like, well, shit, if millions of people resonate with this, the second thing that I saw is that I felt better. It sounds weird, right? Because we look at truth as this scary thing, and you tell your truth, you hear Bob talking about how sad he is. What a pussy, right? We don't say these things, which is why Bob never says anything. And then Bob blows his brains out. We're like, wow, we didn't even know Bob was sad.
Yeah.
I realized like how much better I felt. Like opening up the kimono, if you will. It was like, now I don't have to hide anymore. I don't have to lie. I can tell you how I'm feeling. And what's really interesting is every single day, all of us, I don't care who you are watching this, where you live, everyone's experiencing sex, money, politics, religion, divorce, depression, bankruptcy, suicide. All of those things are literally interwoven into our lives, whether it's our neighbor, our friends, or our brothers, or our sisters, or our kids. And yet those are the things that we don't talk about. Those are the things that are taboo, not politically correct. Don't say anything, or she might offend somebody. And so we just go back into this rudimentary life where we don't talk about feelings and emotions. And I was like, well, shit, if sharing my truth and sharing how I really felt resonated and connected with millions of people and I felt better, I consider myself a pretty smart dude. Like, maybe I'll just keep doing this. And so I literally have used this device, different versions of the iPhone, over the last 5 years to reach almost 1 billion people. And literally it'll just be me just turning on and talking and sharing my thoughts or sharing my feelings on a global event or something that's happening, or talking about my divorce or talking about depression or talking about what I'm experiencing. And it's just radically brilliant to see how people connect to it. And I have literally never felt this good. My businesses are crushing. The connection that I have with my children, with my ex-wife, this amazing new relationship that I'm in with a fucking extraordinary woman. Like, the deeper down the rabbit hole of truth that I've gone and the more I've opened myself up, the better my life has been and gotten. And it's literally the exact opposite of pretty much every single thing that I've been taught since I was a child. And my biggest takeaway is like, you've heard how many times the truth will set you free, and you're like, yeah, whatever. It really fucking will.
Yep.
Agreed. I want to ask you, man, when, because I know there's a lot of guys out there and women that are probably wondering, how did you like get your start? Like, when you like coming from a broken home, like I came from a broken home as well. My dad wasn't around. I think part of that has kind of pushed me forward, it's propelled me forward, because a lot of it, my truth was that I always wanted my dad to see me and be proud, like, oh, wow, like he wasn't around, but look at this dude. He's crushing it. He bought his own house by himself. He has his second house by himself. He's done all of it on his own with no help from me. And it was always like, look at me, look at me, look at me. And all I was ever really craving was for my dad to say he was proud of me, to be like, yeah, I'm proud of you, son. And I never got that, so it is what it is. But for you, what was it that was propelling you forward, and where did you get your start?
Much of the same. I mean, growing up without my dad, my old man, I realized recently over the last year and a half and working with some really incredible energy workers and shamans, like how much I didn't love myself. In fact, I did a plant medicine journey last year. And as I was sitting with my shaman, she asked me a question. I don't really ever get stumped, right? And I'm like, fly off the cuff, whatever. And she looks at me, she's like, have you ever been loved? Like, have you ever felt loved? And my first thought was, fuck yeah. I mean, look, I got millions of people that follow me. Look, my dogs will lick the shit out of me. They fucking love me. My mom loves me. My family, everybody loves me. And that was like the initial thought. And as I sat with it, I was like, I thought about the real question, like, have you ever felt loved? And it was like, fuck, man, it was weird. It was super heavy. And I was like, I started to really think, and I had this kind of cool little vision, you can call it whatever you want with, plant medicine. I just saw kind of my entire life from when I was a kid to today. And it was like when I was a little kid, I'd go 4 for 5 in a baseball game. My dad would be like, great job, son, but why'd you swing at that pitch? Or I'd wash his car and he'd be like, it looks great, but you forgot the fucking tires. And so blaming no one, taking full accountability, I always thought love was conditional. Like I had to be on and the best and all of these things for people to love me. And what I realized is that I never loved who I was. And so I've always been trying. This is a really interesting conversation. We can go really far down this rabbit hole if you want to, another time, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
But when you stop and really think about it, like, you know, I was programmed this way, right? And I can blame my program. I can blame my dad. I can blame all of these things. But what I realized is like I had to rewrite the story myself. And it was on me to rewrite the story. And so as I started thinking about it, what I realized is I have literally mounds and mounds and mounds of books and fucking coaches and Tony Robbins and everything to like better my life and change and be a better man and a better man. I'm not talking about growth and evolution. What I'm talking about is thinking that there's something wrong with me, that I'm broken in some way, that there's all of these things that aren't lovable or that are always going to be wrong. And I realized about a year ago, just a little bit over a year ago, I'm like, no, dude, like, what if? I love the what if conversations. Like, what if? I'm not telling you yes or no. Maybe it is or it isn't. But what if, right? Because then if you're with somebody who's receptive, then they go on their own journey, right? Then you have to ask your own questions, which is fucking rad. Like, I'm not here to be like, Jesus is here, and this is what you got to do. I don't fucking know, right? But what if? And I went on this journey in trying to answer the question, what if I'm perfect? Like, what if there's nothing wrong with me? What if I'm not broken? What if all of these thoughts and things that I have in my mind that have come from programming and a long fucking time of it, what if it's all not true? And what if the truth is I'm perfect? Now, we don't need to go off on the Christian conversation because I can take anybody wherever you want to go on this, but just try that on for size. Like, what if every single thing that you've experienced in life has brought you to this point and you've learned from all of it? And knowledge, you know, is what? Knowledge is perfection. I only have to touch the hot stove once to know that it's hot. I have a perfect knowledge that when that fucking thing is on high and I touch it, I'm going to get burned. Period. It doesn't matter if I'm high or I'm drunk or I'm wearing clothes or I'm not wearing clothes. If I touch that thing, I have a perfect knowledge that I'm going to get burned. And I started this conversation in my mind, like every single thing that's gone on in my life, from the divorce to the bankruptcy to the millions to making them to losing them to lying to the whole thing, has brought me to this point right now. And I know all of these things, and I know what I like, I know what I don't like, I know what feels good, I know what doesn't. And I started looking at my mind and my life and my soul as perfect instead of fucked all these things up. Did I? Because I now know something that I didn't know. And if knowledge is perfection, how is it that I'm not perfect? Yeah, but Sean, you lost millions of dollars. I did. And along the way, I learned how to not do things, which has now made me very successful in my businesses again. I did go through a nasty divorce and be a victim. And I now know how to build a fucking amazingly beautiful relationship that I have with the woman right now. And so you start trying on these things, and I realized, like, what started for me was just asking things differently, looking at things differently, like, fuck the churches, fuck the books, fuck everybody else's reality. Because the truth is, if you read all these books and you're trying to get better, these are all people's opinions. Every single thing in here is someone else's just opinion. Maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong. It doesn't matter. It's just their fucking opinion, right? Like, I love Don Miguel Ruiz. He's a brilliant fucking author. These are brilliant books that have opened my mind, but these are his opinions. And all of a sudden I stepped back from everything and just literally tried on that question, like, is it possible that I'm perfect? And I can tell you, like, you know, with what you're talking about, like needing that acceptance, like that acceptance from dad or from mom or from my lover or something like that, that's a fucking heavy thing, man. It's so heavy, and it's so heavy to carry around because you always feel like you have to, like, you're doing something wrong or it's not enough, or the only person that feels that is us.
Right.
And I can tell you the last year of my life has literally been one of the best ever. And I don't know why. I can't attribute it to one specific thing, but I know that I'm operating in a different space, in a different place, and I'm asking things differently. And what's really, really, really dope, like with what you're saying, is where do you start? Step away from every single thing that you think you know, or that's been programmed, or that has been taught, and go on your own fucking journey. You know what I mean? Everything you believe about business, sex, money, life, politics has been programmed. Like, what if you just step back and say, what if I'm perfect? Try that on for a second. And as I tried that on, it was just like, holy fuck, dude. Now I look at every single experience in my life to date as this wildly amazing teaching experience versus I fucked this up. I fucked that up. I carry around all this anger and remorse. It's like, no, dude. Remember that one time I lost $12 million? What the fuck was I thinking, right? But I learned. Remember that one time I wouldn't talk to my ex-wife for like a week and a half because I was a pouty little fucking idiot and I was sitting in the corner thinking she should just come suck my dick and I'm the man and that. Yeah, you want to know what's dope about our relationship now with my woman? Is like we just talk about everything 24/7 and it's fucking rad. You know what I'm saying? So it's a long answer to your question, but I think it's very, very, very pertinent for especially men to try this on and look at this because there's so much weight and so much expectation to be on and we gotta and all this other shit. And we feel like we fail a lot. We're always falling short, and especially women too. Like I'm always falling short on this. What if you're perfect? You try that on for a minute and maybe that rewrites some stories for you. I don't know, but that's what I did.
Yeah, for sure. And then how did you pick up the pieces when it all came crumbling down for you, when you lost all those millions of dollars? Like, I know there's people that are listening to this and myself included, like, you know, I've been in a spot, like, I think you talked about like lying to yourself. And like, for me, when I started my podcast, I was traveling everywhere. I was traveling to all the people that I was interviewing and I wanted to do it differently. That's why I chose to do it that way. Because number one, I was missing the opportunity like I am right now. Like I'm talking to you and I can see you through Zoom, but if I was in a room with you, the energy would be different because I could feel your energy, you could feel mine, and I'm getting the opportunity to make a true connection with another human being. And so when I started the podcast, I was doing that. I was flying to every single person, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Texas, everywhere. But the reality of it, a lot of that was my ego because it was like I had this story of like, oh, you know, like here's Josh flying all over the country doing this thing. Oh, he's living the life of Riley, this and that. He's got a badass wife because she takes care of the kids while he's gone and blah, blah, blah. But the reality of it is like, dude, I was putting myself in a financial hole as a result. I wasn't capitalizing on the podcast at all. I wasn't monetizing it at all. It's like I was meeting a bunch of amazing people that had established a great network. But what was I doing with it financially to provide for my family? Nothing. You know, all I did was feed my ego, but didn't feed my family, you know? And so I want to know from you, like, how did you like lose everything and then build it back up? Like what was the process, I guess, if you will?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of different ways to think about this. You know, number one, what if you don't lose everything? Right. What if it's just a restructuring of stuff? What if I got all this money in my bank account now, but I made the wrong move in the game and all my money went into somebody else's account. Fuck, that wasn't the right move. Now what moves do I have to make to put it back in my bank account, right? There's a lot of different ways to look at failing and falling down and the whole thing. What you said a word that has been really, really, really impactful in my life, like the last 6 months specifically. It's story. I'll literally tell you a story that has rewritten so many things for me in the last 6 months. Ever since I was a little kid, and again, this translates to relationships, to business. There's stories like one of the stories that I had when I went through my bankruptcy is that no one would bank on me, right? I had made millions and millions and millions of dollars in real estate and got my ass handed to me in 2008. Well, I was also making millions of dollars in one of my other businesses. My development company got fucked. My investment company was crushing, right? Juggling all of this stuff, I end up dropping the balls. I walk away. And one of the stories that I told myself is like, I'm a shitty businessman. I'm a terrible businessman. No one's ever going to invest with me, buy from me, do whatever. And my coach looked at me, he's like, you lost a lot of money, but make no mistake, you had to make it to lose it, number one. And number two, he's like, you flipped almost 4,000 properties across America. Very few people on this planet will ever be able to say they did that. You did that. And all of a sudden I was like, yeah, but no, but you did that. And I was like, oh shit. So I started like literally reframing the story from I lost all this money. I was a total fucking idiot, all this other shit. Show me a multimillionaire and I'll show you somebody who's either gone through a bankruptcy or struggled financially at one point in their life. Show me a billionaire, same story. It's the exact same story. And so I started looking at maybe I'm perfect. Try that on. Yeah, but Sean, the script, fuck all of the scriptures and things. What if it's just you rewrite it? You rewrite the entire story. So I started rewriting like that I was this failure and that I'd lost all this money to I had to make those millions to lose them. I am a badass in business. I'm really fucking good at what I do. I just literally lost, if you will, reshuffled the money from one end of the game to the other, and now I want it back. I just literally started rewriting the story. Same thing goes for something. There's so many things in our life that are stories. What I mean by this and what I want people to understand is perhaps they're not true. Like, again, hear me. Like, I'm not telling you whether it is or isn't. 6 months ago, I'm laying in bed and I'm flipping through ads and Instagram, and I see this ad for these Jordan shoes. And the story was when I was a little kid, my parents would take me school shopping. And every single time we'd go to Foot Locker, like British Knights or K-Swiss, that's what I got, right? Because mom and dad were like, here's $25, that's what you get. Yep. But this is when Jordans came out. And it was like, on day one of school, if you had the new J's, you were the shit. They were fresh as fuck. The smell of the box, like Jordans were badass, but they were $100. And every single time I walk into Foot Locker, I'm like, I'm gonna grab me a pair of Jordans. And I'd hold them and I'm like, I could never bring myself to spend that money. Right. Don't know why. I just didn't. I hustled all summer. I had the money. And literally for 40 years, I told that story. 40 years. I would tell it from stage in front of thousands of people like, to this day, I make millions of dollars and I've never owned a pair of Jordans. I used to be all these celebrities and guys and athletes and all this. And I was telling this thing so much, it just became part of like my routine, if you will. It was just a story, right? Right. But I love the shoes. I think they think they're fucking amazing. And it was like, I told the story over and over and over again that it became my reality. And as I'm laying in bed, this is back in May of this year, I'm just looking at this thing on my ad and I'm like, I really want these fucking shoes. And I almost like blacked out. It was really interesting. I was like, click, 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 boom, boom, boom. And I bought them. And I was like, I didn't really even think anything about it at the time, but I bought these shoes and they showed up about a week later. I opened the box and I got crazy emotional. Like I was literally like crying. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like holding a pair of sneakers, right? It's Jordans. Yep. And I'm all emotional. And I was like, holy shit. Not only do I now have the shoes, but I also have the story. Yep. The story's still real. I lost millions of dollars, but I made them. The story is when I was a kid, I never went and bought the shoes because I didn't want to spend the money. But now I got the story and I got the shoes. And dude, like some crazy shit in my brain started switching. Like I started literally looking at everything in my life. One of my friends is a snake breeder. He breeds snakes. Fucking hates snakes. Right. Like I see a snake and I hit it with a shovel and I don't feel any remorse toward it. I don't give a fuck if it was your pet. I don't care. I hate snakes. I've always hated snakes since I was a little kid. And I'm up there at his place one day, and he has like 150 snakes. And he's like, dude, just come hold a snake. I'm holding a snake. And, you know, maybe I'm all right, cool. I'll be a tough guy. So I start holding this little snake, and we work our way up to a bigger snake and a bigger snake. I still don't like snakes. Right. And after I buy the Jordans, one day, I'm sitting around, and I text him, and I'm like, yo, I want a snake. And he's like, just come play with mine whenever you want. I'm like, no, for real, I want a snake. And he's like, okay, cool. And like 2 days later, he shows up at my house with this thing, this plastic thing in his bag. He's got the fucking snake in the bag, and he tells me these things to do, and he gives me a bag of mice and drops them off, and the whole thing put them in the freezer. I'm like, all right, cool. And I'm not thinking anything of it. The same way I bought the shoes. And he leaves, and later that day, he's like, you have to play with the snake every day. You got to take it out. It's brand new. It's like 3 weeks old. It'll start to smell you and learn you and the whole thing. It'll be your friend. And later that night, I walk over to the fucking cage, and I'm like, look, I open it up, and I do the thing that he tells me to do, and I'm looking at this little fucking thing, and I pull it out, and it's like, like what the fuck am I doing with this thing? And he's slithering around me, and I didn't have anybody there. It wasn't like, yo, pet store lady, here, take the snake. Take it back, take it back. Right. It was me and the snake. And I'm standing in my kitchen. I swear to God, this is the crazy things that like we tell ourselves. It's like so fucking stupid. They're stories. And we're really good storytellers to ourselves. Right. Holding the snake. Now, most people listening to this are like, no, fuck that. No, fuck snakes. I was that guy. And as I'm holding the snake, he's looking around. She's going around. She like picks her head up and she's like staring at me, and I'm like doing that thing. And I'm looking at this snake, and we literally had this moment, right? Everybody can laugh, you can call it whatever you want. I'm like, holy fuck. Like my entire life I've been terrified of this thing, but it's literally like a baby. It has no clue who I am. It's as curious about me as I am it. It's like super fucking docile. It's like a child. It's like a little puppy just crawling around and exploring and sniffing my face and the whole thing. I'm like, this thing's fucking rad. And I swear to God, in a matter of 15 minutes of holding the snake, I fell in love with the snake. And my snake's name is Butters. And I literally pick out Butters every single day. And Butters and I bond. She crawls around. I feed her mice. And we just have this fucking really dope relationship. Yeah. And what I realized is literally for 40 years, I was telling myself I hated snakes. They're disgusting. They're stupid. I didn't have a problem throwing them in the bushes and killing them. And I really had never had an experience with a snake. I never bought the Jordans. I had the story, but I never did the deal. And so it's like, well, shit. What other stories am I telling? So like when you talk about how do I rebuild, we talk about failing and we fail and all these other things, and we stay stuck and addicted to stories that we can literally just rewrite. I had a terrible divorce. I had a really, really, really interesting breakup from a last relationship that I was in that was long-term. And like I'd been lied to and cheated on and all this other stuff. And it was like I had a lot of fucking issues around this, right? Love, right? Yeah. And about a month ago, I'm dating this beautiful girl and we're having this experience. I just looked at her and I was like, I have real big trust issues. I have tons of trust issues. So I thought, I tell myself this for a long time. I just literally looked at her across the room and I was like, I trust you. Like, I'm going to choose to trust you. And in our minds, men and women were like, oh, well, we guard ourselves. We shut ourselves off, right? And at some point in time, I'll give you everything. It's like, it's insanity. We want to be loved. We want this connection, but we're playing with like scraps from the table, right? Love me, love all of me, but I'm only going to give you 10%. Do you love it? But I want you to love all of me. It's this fucking insanity. And I'm looking at this chick going, how the fuck am I ever going to build anything with her if I just don't trust her? If I don't give her everything. Everything. Could she cheat on me? Yep. Could she lie to me? Yep. Could she completely break my heart and fuck me up? Absolutely. But I won't know that till I do it. I won't fucking know about the snake until I buy the snake. I'm not saying everybody needs to buy a snake. What I'm saying is how many fucking stories in life are we telling that literally aren't even true? I'm terrified of skydiving. How do you know? You've never been. Yeah, but I'm terrified of it. People are terrified to swim with sharks, but they've never swam with sharks. Think about that. I'm terrified of sharks. How the fuck do you know? You've never been in the water with a shark. But you don't have a reason. It's literally a fucking story in your head. And maybe it's something from when you were a child. And so, to go all the way back to your question, we had these, how do I rebuild? You just fucking build. I don't trust women. Well, go trust one. I'm scared to I'll fall on my face again in business. Great. Go build a fucking empire and see what happens. I don't know if I should. These stories, dude, I swear to God, man, it's been the craziest 6 months because now I look at everything happening in my life as a story. I'm like, you sneaky son of a bitch, tell me more. And I'm like literally rewriting from a snake to a pair of fucking sneakers. Right. Like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But it's a beautiful, beautiful thing because this is what we do as human beings, specifically men, specifically prideful, egotistical, arrogant, red personality men like us. Nope. This is how it is. And what if it's literally as simple as buying a pair of shoes? Yep. What if literally it's as simple as looking at your girlfriend or your wife and being like, I'm all in. And when I said that to her, I didn't even say it to her. I said it to myself, I'm like, I trust you. I'm all in. Like everything fucking changed, man. Everything changed. Our relationship went from like this to just zoom, like in a matter of a couple of days, just by me saying, I'm all in. I wasn't like going out and buying new sheets and buying sex toys and whatever. It was just literally me rewriting the story saying, I'm going to give you everything. Right. And in that moment, like, dude, I've never had a relationship like this with a woman before.
It's funny, man. My wife the other day came home from work. We just opened or started a pool business, so we have like 40 something pools that are on our route, and my wife manages all of it. She goes out and cleans the pools. And initially I thought that was kind of a cool like business ploy because my wife's beautiful and she's out there cleaning pools. When you ever see hot like chicks out there cleaning pools, you know? So it's like I have this vision of like getting a bunch of hot chicks and they'll be like cleaning the pools in their bikinis and like, oh, it's so cool. But anyway, she came home from work the other day and usually comes home, she's tired and drained and whatever. And I've been with the kids all day and I'm doing things around the house. And she gave me a big old hug, wrapped her arms around me. I'm like, oh, what's going on, babe? She's like, I read this thing the other day. It was like the 7 like signs that you should flee a relationship. Like don't run away from this relationship. And there was like 7 things that were like red flags. And she's all, and I was like 5 of those things. I was like 5 of the 7. And I realized that like I wasn't giving myself to you. I was contracting because of all the things that have happened in our past. I wasn't always the best husband. I've said a lot of really hurtful things. I've done a lot of stupid shit. We've had court judgments against us that were, hundreds of thousands of dollars and a lot of financial stress. And she's on, I was holding all that against you, not realizing that like, that's not who you are anymore. Like you're completely different. You've changed, you've grown, you've evolved. And I was holding myself back from allowing myself to love you really the way you wanted to be loved. And so you were contracting as well. We were kind of just always in that space. And I was, kind of being the little bitch, like, I'd really love to fuck my wife right now, but shit, I'm just gonna sit here and not say anything and pretend that I'm all good. But inside I'm fucking trembling, And it's like the last month, our relationship has been fucking amazing as a result, because we're both like just coming and meeting each other from an authentic place, And if I'm feeling a certain kind of way, it's like, fuck, I just tell her, like, hey, I need some affection, I need some love from you, And it's a beautiful place to be. It really is, man. So I think that's awesome that you and your old lady have got there
crazy,
too.
But it's what's interesting is a lot of people think it's really hard.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I thought it was hard because I was operating from a really, really broken mindset.
Yeah.
And maybe it's something that everybody has to go through. I don't know. But what I will say is if you consider yourself smart, like people that have come before you have figured out how to do things, right?
Right.
And this is one of the things that I teach with Lions Not Sheep in my coaching is especially with these higher level CEOs, executives, business owners, there's this expectation to just crush and thrive and crush everybody. And what's really fascinating is if you read all these books, which I love to read, you see I fucking books everywhere. Read like the biographies of these moguls that have come before us, the Carnegies, the Rockefellers, the Steve Jobs of the world. What's really fascinating is at the end of all of their books, they all say the same thing. Everybody says the same thing, one way or another, which is if I could go back and do it all over again, like I would have done more of the things that I wanted to do and I would have spent more time with my family. All of them. I mean, listen to Steve Jobs when he's on his deathbed. He's like, I've amassed a fortune. I have all of the wealth you could ever want. And what I can't buy is another day. I can't buy my health. Literally, he's like, I am a billionaire and I can't cure my cancer. And it's literally like a broken man on his deathbed saying, dude, I would give everything to go back and be 41 years old again like Sean is. And I consider myself a pretty smart fella. And I'm looking at it saying, I'm 41, and Steve Jobs has told me if he could trade places with me, he would spend more time doing the shit he wanted to do. And so I can try and ball and beat you and beat him and have a bigger fucking truck than my neighbor or a better boat than my other neighbor, but it's like, at what cost? You know what I mean? Like anybody who's followed me on social media for any period of time knows I do whatever the fuck I want whenever I want. People often mock and like, dude, do you ever work? Whatever. I built a business that provides the lifestyle for me that I want to live. And I did that specifically because I did for 20 years of my life, 25 years of my life, the exact opposite, which is I built the business and then I was a slave to it. Yeah. And so when you stop and think about it, like what you're talking about, being able to become self-aware and saying, holy shit, I'm going to be that guy one day. I'm going to be on the deathbed, or I'm going to be home with my woman going, we're playing it like 10%, babe. Like, are we either going to go all in? What are we going to fucking do? I was that guy for a long time. I played small. I acted like a bitch, whatever you want to define that as. But like, once I made that declaration and that choice, like, I'm going to fucking live. I'm all in. It's really fascinating because certain people just move away from you and other people come in. Business doors and deals open up like you would have never believed, and other deals close. But it's just so fascinating because I think so many people think it's really hard to do this. And literally, I want you to contemplate this for a second. Like, I bought a pair of sneakers, and that experience of literally just buying those shoes has helped me build a relationship with a woman that I literally have only dreamt of. Like, I wrote down the perfect woman, and I have it. And I can tell you it started well before the sneakers, but getting to the point where I bought a fucking pair of sneakers and played with a fucking snake for 20 minutes literally has helped me build a relationship with a woman that I could have only dreamt of. And there's a lot of people right now listening that are just rolling their eyes going, dude, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Try it. Try it. Try it.
Yeah.
Like, what if you're perfect? What if that stupid fucking story you've been telling yourself about money or about sex or about whatever is literally like the one thing, that one little bam, it just explodes your fucking life.
Yeah.
Buying this snake was literally one of the dopest things. It was I didn't want it. What the fuck am I doing with snake? And I can tell you in the last couple of months I've had this snake. It's like, it's almost like just all of these things just keep popping into my space. Like, story, rewrite it. Story, rewrite it. Oh, you were afraid of that? It doesn't matter. Rewrite it. And I'm like, everything coming at me is like, it's like being in the Matrix. That final scene when Neo's standing in the hallway and he finally gets the Matrix and he's like, oh, these two assholes in the hall, they can't fuck with me. And what happens? They're shooting at him and he grabs a bullet and he's like, drops the bullet. The two agents come down. They're trying to kick the shit out of him and he's looking around going, oh, this is life. Yeah, this is way fun. I like this. This is literally how I'm playing the game right now in the Matrix.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I think it's awesome because, there's a book I'm reading right now, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And he kind of talks about that where it's like, we have these stories that we tell ourselves and, and you're constantly almost putting yourself back into a negative state to keep you at a place where you're subconsciously comfortable, where it's like, there's not enough misery in my life and I'm so used to chaos and misery. So I'm going to purposely or subconsciously fuck something up just to create that subconscious, like, chaotic environment because that's where I'm most comfortable. And so I've really been trying to like look at my own life and be like, how am I creating things in my life that don't belong there anymore? The other thing I've been using is like visualization. Like, where do I want to be? And I want to attach a feeling to like that of where I want to be as well. And like Jack Canfield did this speech, I fucking loved it, where he had you like sit down in a room and he had everyone like in their chairs and he had them close their eyes and visualize that they were at the top of the Empire State Building, on a chair and the wind's blowing and you're swaying and you could see people in the room getting kind of like queasy. And he's like, now that's what I'm trying to show you is that you're not even, you're safe in a room, but you're visualizing yourself being on top of the Empire State Building and all of a sudden you get kind of like dizzy, a little vertigo-ish. And he's like, that's the reality of visualization. It can really work. If you envision yourself being somewhere, attach a feeling to it, it can work. And so that's kind of what I've been working on lately is trying to establish like where I want to be,
That's so fucking true, bro. So true. Look at Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor, if you watch, I love that guy. Love him or hate him, doesn't fucking matter. You watch his fight with Jose Aldo, and he's literally in the dressing room throwing that counter left. Bang. Yeah. And he talks about it. He was talking about it in interviews. He's like, he's going to come in with the lazy right. I'm going to freaking counter. And he did it. Oh, got lucky. Well, call it whatever you want, but I can tell you that I literally have envisioned this woman, what our sex would be like, what our connection would be like, everything down to literally like being able to just physically like hold each other, like physically hold her face and like look at her and like hold that space. That's so awkward for so many people.
Oh yeah.
It's so fucking awkward. It was awkward for me to just hold my woman's face and like stare at her eyes. Oh, giddy, like you act like a fucking idiot, right? I did. I was like that. I was like, I want that. I want that connection, like soul. And all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, here it is. I worked my ass off to get here, but here it is. Like you can literally vision these things. And when you said you attach that emotion to it, I think that that's what's allowed me and helped me and pushed me into being able to look at her and be like, okay, I trust you. Something that I've struggled with, a story. She's gonna this. How many people, the more people you talk to, you coach, and you whatever, it's like the vast majority of people have major trust issues and connection issues. And we We spend billions of dollars on therapists and counselors and marriage counselors and marriage therapists, and people spend hour after hour after hour after hour talking about their daddy issues and their mommy issues and abandonment issues and the whole thing, and break it all the way down. Like, you simply don't trust your own fucking lover today. How are you going to blame that on your dad?
Right.
I get it. Trust me, I get it. I'm not trying to downplay anybody's experience, but I had a really fucked up childhood. I had a father that abandoned us. The whole fucking game, I get it.
Yep.
But what changed for me is literally saying, all right, I'm going to buy these shoes. I'm going to buy the snake. I trust you. This is what I'm going to do with my business. Building out every single step to get there and just fucking doing it.
Right. I love it, man. How much do you think, in terms of like therapy and stuff like that, how much do you think plant medicine has helped you like deal with some of like kind of like get to a place that you are today?
This is a topic that I have not talked about very much. And I mean, there's obviously a reason that I mentioned it earlier. Debbie Ford, one of my favorite books is The Dark Side of Light Chasers by Debbie Ford. It's a brilliant book, The Dark Side of Light Chasers by Debbie Ford. She talks about how when we're born into these infinite mansions. We're little kids. If you're a parent and you have a little child, you know that a child will eat dog shit and not know. It will eat fucking whatever. It tries to stick its finger in a dog's butt. Like a child does not know anything, right? Like, you could put a bunch of boys, and when we were little kids, like, we'd all go get dirty in the yard, and my parents would put us all in the fucking bathtub and hose us all off, and there was no penis and vagina, no boobies. It wasn't any of that. It's purity. It's true purity. Well, and how do we learn these things? We're programmed, right? We get older. You don't pick your name. You don't any of this other stuff, right? And so it's fascinating because I'm 41 years old. I've got every experience you can imagine, from religion to everything, right? What I explain to people about plant medicine is this. Imagine having no ego. Now, you can't do that because you're trying to imagine having no ego from an ego state, right? Now, again, we go down this fucking rabbit hole. This is the stuff I really love talking about. What I found is that I was in the first time I did plant medicine was last year, and I was just in a really tumultuous state. I had just left this relationship, chaos, the whole thing, and I had been invited to many ceremonies prior to that, and I didn't do it. And I felt really connected to this one called Repelled. And that was what my takeaway was from that first experience is I went back to the mansion and I just opened up doors. And so when you think about it, like literally from a very real standpoint, imagine living in a mansion with infinite rooms, right? Everything is a mystery. There is no right or wrong. There is no good or bad. There is no guilt and shame and all this. You're just fucking wandering through this mansion, experiencing this, feeling this, touching this. Now, as you get older, our parents program us, this is God, religion, this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong, this is good, this is bad. And so now we're programmed and we're living in a one-bedroom condo. There is no more mystery, right? Like, think about just religion, for example. Like, is there a greater denominator for war ever in the history of mankind than God and religion? We literally fight each other over God. Yep. Like, we fight. We don't talk about religion. Oh, don't talk about your shit. We fight with each other over religion, right? Something as simple as that conversation of just a belief system. So when you think about it, like, we're living in these one-bedroom dogmatic realities. Like, this is what sex is. This is what money is. This is my little fucking world. And what I'm finding is that at 40 years old, I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, there's got to be more to this. We haven't found the edges of the universe. We haven't found the bottom of the ocean. And so plant medicine to me brings me back to that state where I can explore. And it's not, a lot of people have this misconception. You're just going and you're getting high and all this other shit. Like, I did all the recreational drugs in my teens, right? I got 3 kids. I'm all about growth and expansion. And to me, there are things like meditation, plant medicine that can help me grow, that can help me expand. There's a brilliant book called Stealing Fire. I think I have it. I might have just given it away. It's called Stealing Fire. And it talks about plant medicine and how the government and professional sports teams and the military are all, I mean, Google, Jesus Christ, Google just built a $3 billion brain center on their facility, right? They're all about exploring the brain.
Right.
If I'm operating with like a pin-sized portion of my brain over here, and I can find something that opens me up to an eraser-sized portion of my brain, and then do you see my point?
Yeah,
That's to me going back to that mansion. And I think it's a beautiful thing, man. I think the mind is so fucking powerful, and you can listen to Joe Rogan talk about this. Jason Silva talks about this. Aubrey Marcus, a lot of these guys in the space talk about plant medicine and how good it is. But there are, without question, scientific connections to growth, to expansion, to helping people with PTSD, to curing and healing things. I can tell you that last year I've been on like a fucking rocket ship. And without question, part of the foundation of that rocket ship has been my experience with plant medicine.
Were you doing ayahuasca or was it a psilocybin ayahuasca?
Both.
Nice.
Yeah. I've experienced all of those, and I found some really beautiful people that have helped guide me through things. And I don't go into shit. Fuck, we'll talk about it. I don't give a fuck. There's a lot of people that have this idea that you go into plant medicine and you have this like, I need to heal all of this shit, right? Again, what if you try on the idea that you're perfect? What if there's nothing to heal? Like, what if it's an exploration? What if it's understanding and seeing things from a different perspective? My entire life, I was asked this question. I told you about this. This is my very first plant medicine journey. I'm sitting there and my shaman asked me, have you ever been loved? Have you ever felt love? And the ego answer was yes. The ego answer was I could list 100 things that loved me. But when I was in that space of there is no right or wrong, I realized that I didn't. And that was truth. It was hard and it was interesting, but it was like, fuck. I tried on a different reality to this thing. And since that experience, it's like, I've gone down a radically different path. If you ask people what this is a good way to look at it, right? You ask a room of people, what is this? Well, it's plastic. It's a container. It's water. It's nutrients. It's alkaline water. It's blah, 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 blah. Oh, it's a billboard. What do you mean it's a billboard? Billboards are down on the freeway. Well, no, it's a billboard for this alkaline water company. Why do you think the sticker's so fucking big so you can walk through a store? And you start looking at life this way and realizing that there's probably 100 other ways to look at what this is. None of them are right or none of them are wrong. It's what people see. It's what your perception is. What if your entire life has brought you to this point and there are things and tools that you can use to open up more doors? To me, that's the game that I'm playing. That's what I want. That's what I'm after in plant medicine. Everything from ayahuasca to psilocybin, DMT. I mean, they're all brilliant fucking tools.
Yeah, for sure. I've been entertaining the idea of going to an ayahuasca ceremony down in Peru, and it started in 2011. I quit. I was on all kinds of benzodiazepines and opiates and everything. I've had 6 back surgeries, so I was all jacked up. And I quit everything cold turkey. It was like, I'm done. I'm quitting it all. I'm done with it. And part of the reason I quit, and I share this with some people, was that I looked up an ayahuasca ceremony, and part of the prerequisites was you couldn't be on any kind of psychotropic drugs. And I was like, fuck that. I don't like to be beholden. I don't want to be beholden to anything or anyone. So I was like, I need to be done with these drugs. It's keeping me from doing something I want to do. And so it was obviously my son was another reason why I needed to quit. And I was going to be dead, if I didn't stop. But I quit it all, and it's been this game of me like toying with getting down to Peru. I just haven't got there yet. And the reason I haven't gotten there yet, I think, is because I don't want to go there I want to make sure my intentions are all pure, and make sure that I'm in the right.
I'll ask you back a question. Like,
yeah,
you're never, it's like people that say, well, we need to be financially set before we have kids. You're never going to be ready. You'll never be ready for anything in life.
Right.
You'll never be like, okay, let's go. Now's the time, right?
Right.
This will happen or that will happen. And so it's like, if you think about every experience, like I totally understand what you're saying. I was the same way. But what happened with me is it was like, I got to get all my ducks in a row and then I'll go. And it's like, well, that's the whole purpose of the experience is to, what if you're trying to get the wrong ducks into the wrong row? And also you're like, well, fuck, what am I doing, right? To me, it's like when you feel called and compelled to explore, that's when you're ready for plant medicine. When all of a sudden, like you keep thinking about it or feeling something, that's when you do it, right? It was like literally like from the shoes, I kept thinking about these snakes, and I'm like, well, fuck snakes, fuck all snakes.
Right.
Well, shit, maybe I'll buy a snake. And it was literally like I had been invited in Peru and Costa Rica and all these places. And it was like in that moment where I'm like, I want something different now. I need something different in my life, right? And the idea of as a parent, as a father of 3 kids, I've openly talked to my children about this. I have a 17-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 10-year-old. And my 10, he didn't give a fuck. You could tell him you're eating dog shit. He's like, whatever, Dad, let's play games and go throw the football. My older kids, though, it's really cool because their brains are evolving and they're expanding and they're starting to understand and they see the evolution. And a lot of people have said to me, you look happier, you seem happier, you just do, whether it's through social media, this, or the other. And I can tell you, like, there won't ever be a time that you're ready. Yeah. It's like, when do you want that next level? You know what I mean? And maybe it's Peru, maybe it's here. I know that there's a lot of states, like from the legalities of it, that are starting to open up. Like Colorado started with like mushrooms and things like this. It's going to happen. It will be legal in every form and every facet here sooner than later. But there's tools like Kratom that are just that help your brain open up. And there's so many different things like that. I strongly encourage people. To explore this. And it's a scary topic. It's a scary conversation for a lot of reasons. Just like saying I'm terrified of like diving with sharks, but you've never dove with sharks. It's the same reality. So I fucking love it, dude. I mean, straight up, I think every single person should experience it and then experience it as it's a tool. Like you could take again, I like breaking everything down to the simple. Like if you can't draw it on a whiteboard, it's too complex. Like there are many tools that I can use to nail in a nail. You know what I mean? Like I don't just need a hammer. I can use 500 different things to pound in a nail. I can use the bottom of my fucking shoe. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So when you start thinking about things like that, like we're very pragmatic and dogmatic, and I have depression, so I need these things. And this is what I need. And the real truth is there's probably 500 things that you could use and or do and or experience that you think is just that singular deal. And plant medicine is very much that. There's a lot of people, I have never had like that dark, I've been to my birth, I've been to my death, I've had that traumatic experience, like, I'm healing all my trauma. To me, it's just every single time I experience it, I'm just opening up more doors, which is so fucking beautiful for me. And I come out of all of these experiences like with a greater appreciation for life, greater love and connection to this exact moment that we're living in.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's going to be one of those moments for me when that time comes that I'm going to truly shed all the rest of the fear that I have around like just playing it big. Because I think like right now, like the reason I haven't done an ayahuasca ceremony, just being truthful with myself, is I'm scared. I'm fearful of it. It's like, fuck, dude, like like it is what it is.
Then that's dope. Like that's what's cool because that's truth, right? Yeah. And then what you get to say next is like, okay, well, how do we overcome fear? How do I overcome jumping off cliffs in the lake? I fucking go to the cliff, I jump off the cliff. How do I overcome that squirrely, slimy fucking thing? I go buy one. How do I overcome this thing of the shoe? I just go buy the shoes. So it's like, now you know it's true.
Yeah, for sure. I just got to take the leap, and I know it's coming. And
here's what's cool though.
Yeah.
Fear. I mean, we all know fear. Every single profound and beautiful experience in life has come through the darkest, scariest times. As the father of 3 children, I can tell you, like, watching a child come into the experience of the world is life-changing. It's hard you can't even describe it really. But like, you could say that it's terrifying, you could say it's this, you could say it's that. Most of the biggest experiences in my life have come in the darkest periods. The things that I'm the most afraid of, the things I'm most scared of is when I'm flip side or the other side of that is the big growth, is the big revelation, is the big knowledge. So I think it's good that you're scared. You should be. But the only thing I would say to you, and we can talk more about the soft line or whatever else, but this for everybody that's watching this, that's in the same, the same scenario, the same situation as you, Josh, like, go into any experience, meditation, plant medicine, with no expectations.
Yeah.
My first experience, we sat down and Sean went around the room and we all had kind of an ask, right? And there were some people that were on their iPhone going, well, I want to know if I should buy the 11s or the 12s, or if I should get this car or that car. And we're thinking about remodeling our house. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, fuck. Like, why don't you just go tell God or the universe or whatever it is? Like, just, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And I was the last one to go, and she came to me and she said, what's your ask? I was like, I don't have one. Whatever the universe and God and deity and whatever is going to instruct me, lead me, guide me, teach me, wants to show me, I'm open to it. And I can tell you that's kind of my same experience like with God. I know there's a lot of, maybe there's a lot of religious people or people that are, in that same space. I used to be very, very like contractual with God, right? We pray when we need him, right? Fuck. Okay. I swear to God, I'll be a good guy this time, right? That's what we do. So human beings do. Or we're just very lackadaisical.
Totally true.
And I got to a place in my life where I realized, I'm like, you know what? If God wants me to get struck by lightning today, no matter what I say or do, that's going to fucking happen.
Right.
If my snake's going to eat me one day, no matter what I say or do, it's going to happen. Like,
right.
That's how much, call it faith, call it whatever I have. And so my entire reality with God shifted to, I wake up in the morning, I stand out on my back deck, immensely grateful for having an opportunity to have another day. And my communication with God is really simple. I'm like, put the people in front of me that you want me to meet, and put the words on my mouth that you need me to speak. Because I know you got this. I know you're fucking way bigger, smarter than me, whatever. I'm going to be walking, moving my feet forward, bring the people that you need me to talk to and give me the words you need me to speak. And life's a lot simpler that way. There's really no expectation. It's not like, look, God, I need this deal. If you do this, then you're like negotiating with God. You can't do that. So when you're going into the plant medicine space, it's like, okay, God, give me all these things. I just sit back and I'm like, okay, where are we going? You know what I'm saying? It's way, to me, more beautiful that way.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things that's been huge for me is like a sense of security, right? So like, I was telling my wife, we were laying in bed the other day and we were talking about the plant medicine, and I was like, listen, like, I know for me, like, I want to be around people that I can trust, people that I trust completely, wholly with my life. Like, I'm good to go and I can completely let my guard down. I did a men's retreat, and one of the exercises we did was we had to blindfold ourselves, and we had to pick somebody in the group that we trusted the least. That was the first part of the exercise. I was like, that's kind of fucking awkward, but okay. So I picked the youngest, most weakest dude I could find in the group, like a guy I would never take into a bar fight with me. Like the kind of the antithesis of what I see myself as, you know what I mean? So I was like, yeah, I'm going to pick that dude. So I pick him, and then they blindfold us, and we're walking through the woods in Sierraville, and I can't see shit, and I have to trust that this kid is like guiding me the right direction. And then he's like, okay, the next part of the exercise, you're going to put earplugs in so you can't see or hear, and he's not going to touch you. So you're going to have to trust your intuition that you're going in the right direction. He can touch you with his finger and this and that to keep you from, falling off a cliff and shit, but that's it. And when it was all done, I was all like teary-eyed because I had never trusted another man with my vulnerability that much, like ever. I was always the one that was holding the line, always the one in the group of my friends that, like, if shit went south, I was the guy that was going to hold the line. Yeah, exactly. I was the enforcer, and it's such a good feeling for me to be able, it was an amazing feeling to be able to just drop my guard and be like, dude, I'm open. I'm here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm good. You got me. And so with the plant medicine, that's what I'm looking for, is to have a core group of people around me that I know that I can trust with my life, that they've got me,
The container, kind of what we call it.
Yeah.
It's super important. Again, you want to be in a good environment, a safe environment. But what's interesting is a lot of the times that I've journeyed with people that I've never met before, people that I knew, like, I didn't really know anyone at my first one. And it was really cool because it's like, you have those thoughts, right? But you rewrite it, because imagine, this is what's cool about it. One of the many, many, many things. Imagine you're with a group of 50 guys, right? And you're just all standing there completely naked.
Yeah.
Like, there's no more ego. Like, I already know how big your dick is or how little your dick is. Okay, great. Like, all the cards are on the table. There's really not, like, we're all equal in this space, right?
Yeah.
Like, literally from an ego state, there's no hiding, there's no flexing, there's no puffing your chest or anything like that. Like, like what's cool, one of the many beautiful things about plant medicine, like I talked about, it's like imagine having no ego. And so I've been able to journey with people that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And there is like zero ego. It's just imagine again taking two toddlers and putting them in the bathtub, and all they want to do is splash the bubbles and play with the ducks. And it doesn't matter about anything else. Nothing else that even exists. That's what plant medicine is like. So you can be in there with the alphas, the betas, whoever you want. And it's a really fucking rad experience, man.
Dude, I can't wait for it.
You should just like put it in the water. Like put it, I'll tell anybody and just get everybody fucking go on a journey. Like, you know, if everybody in America gets to do that, I think everybody would chill the fuck out.
Oh, for sure, dude.
It'd be really cool for everybody.
With all that you've been through with the plant medicine, with, you know, essentially losing a bunch of money, building a bunch of money back up and stuff like that, what do you feel, because I think for everyone it's different, but what do you feel is the meaning of life for you?
This exact moment. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of books written on purpose, how to find your purpose. Right. There are people literally medicated because they're so depressed that they don't know what their purpose is. There are people that are literally struggling every day in this quest to try and find your purpose. I'm trying to find my purpose. I mean, literally, you can sit in a room with 10,000 people and ask people, you know, how many of you want to find your purpose? And every person would raise their hand. Everyone would.
Right.
And what's really fascinating to me is I've been that exact same way for most of my life. And about a year and a half ago, I kind of, in this process of my evolution, it's like going through this, like, why am I here? What is this? And what I realized is that the act of finding something is an act of desperation in many ways. Now, we say we want to find truth and all of these other things, but that means that we don't have it.
Right.
As you contemplate this for a second, the last time you lost your keys, were you like, you know what, honey, let's just go look? No, you're like, fuck, I need my keys. I got to go. I got a meeting. What the hell? Where are the keys?
Right.
Lose your kid in the grocery store. Hey, have you seen my kid? You panic. You're frantic. You're running around. Like when you think about not having something and trying to find it, love. Trying to find love. It means you don't have it. I'm trying to find my eternal companion. Trying to find. We're trying to find our purpose. And I really struggled with that for a while. And what I found for me personally, and this relates to everyone, is people that struggle with depression are thinking about yesterday. You're thinking about something that you have no control over. I could hand you $1 billion and say, change yesterday. You can't. You literally can't. You can't sedate your way out of it. It's done. It's not possible to change it. I can also hand you $1 billion and say, change tomorrow. Well, I would do all of these things. True, you could, but you're going to be dead at dinner. So what does that $1 billion have to do with tomorrow? Nothing.
Yeah.
And so for me, the entire quest of what you're talking about, what's the meaning of life is in how do I find my purpose? What I realized is that I'm in the most peace when I'm in a singular moment. And then in another singular moment, and then another singular moment. And so my quest is stringing together as many singular moments as possible. You're sitting there looking at a sunset, but you're worried about your dinner reservations in 45 minutes, or you're thinking about tomorrow, or you're worried about the thing. You never actually experience the sunset. Right. And I'm like a little child now. I'm 41 years old. I'll be driving down the street and I'll be like, holy shit. And I'll pull over and I'll be like, look at those clouds. And it's like, those clouds are not going to be there in 5 minutes. And so stopping and like staring at those clouds and having that euphoric experience, or being completely present in a conversation with somebody, you sit there with somebody, yeah. Huh? Yeah. It's not even worth the time. Like it's the most
totally
disconnected thing ever. And I think there's so many people that are trying to find their purpose. What's the meaning of life? Is it religion? Is it God? Is it this? Is it that? I truly believe in my quest and what I have found. I've been immensely grateful to have found this thing, if you will, or created this thing, is knowing that when I'm in a singular moment, that's when I'm the most at peace. That's when I'm the most connected to my family. That's the one time that I'm most connected to God, when I'm connected to myself. When I'm struggling, when I'm worried and stressed out, it's either tomorrow or yesterday. And I have no control over either of those. And so bringing myself into a place of being fully present in a singular moment is where peace lives. It's where peace resides. And so if you find yourself stressed, frustrated, anxiety, literally step back and where is your brain right now? It's not in this singular moment. And so for me, the purpose of life is literally stringing together as many singular moments as possible.
Good shit, man. I'm going to ask you 2 more questions I ask everyone that comes on the podcast. And I use it as like as a Rolodex, if you will. When I talk to people that are, as amazing as you, it's like, I want to pick your brain. And I wish we had like 10 hours to talk. So I want to ask you, if you had one person or one book that inspired you the most your entire life, who would that person be and what would that book be and why? It could be both too. It doesn't have to be one or the other.
My mom is number one. My mom. My mom's my hero. She's inspired me more than any human being ever. I remember being a kid, knowing that my mom was going through hardships, knowing that, my dad took off and left her with the bills and left her with everything. And my room was at the end of the hallway and I'd have to pass her room. And I just remember as a kid, like passing her room and she was on her knees praying. And I just have those vivid memories, multiple times as I was a kid, and knowing that she was a woman of faith. She was a woman of conviction. She was a fucking powerful, powerful woman. I fear my mom. Like, my mom grabs me and is like, I'm going to whoop your ass. I'm like, okay. And I'm a big fucking dude. My mom has no problem hitting me with a wooden spoon, she still will try and squirt me with fucking liquid soap now because she can project it when I'm like swearing or whatever. I'll do a Facebook post and my phone will ring 5 minutes later, it's mom, and I'm like, shit, I know I said something, and she'll be like, she's an extraordinarily powerful woman. She's without question my hero. Her tenacity is part of what's inside of me. The very best book that I've ever read, I would love to say my own. If I was stranded on an island, the way I dictate this is what one book would I bring, and it's As a Man Thinketh by James Allen.
Oh yeah.
I've probably given, I don't even know how many hundreds of copies I've given away of that book. To me, that's the book. And I've read it hundreds and hundreds of times. And I learned something new. It inspires me more than any other book. But my mom, As a Man Thinketh by James Allen.
That's crazy, man. When I first went on this journey in 2011, when I quit all my drugs or whatever, we were going through my buddy's dad's garage, and he has all kinds of shit in there. He's a hoarder, so he has all kinds of shit. And I go up to this box, and my buddy walks up next to me, and we see this book on the top of the box, and it was As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. And we were both like kind of on this spiritual quest, and we're like, what the fuck is this book? And we're like, it sounds kind of cool. Let's read it. So we both read it, and dude, changed my life for sure. And I have it on audio and I listen to it regularly,
I have copies of it literally everywhere. I have copies on my desk, in my briefcase, next to my bathtub. Like, I literally have copies of that book, and I just give them to people all the time. It's a really quick read. It's a teeny book. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, for sure. And the last question I want to ask you is, if you had one regret your entire life, I mean, I know you live in the moment now, but like, if you had one regret or one lesson that you wish you could teach a younger Sean or somebody else who's coming up in the world, what would that main lesson you'd want to teach them, or regret that you had that maybe they could do it differently? What would that lesson be?
To ask for help. I don't have any regrets. I think about everything as literally a lesson to bring me here. One of my favorite quotes was by Thomas Monson. And he said, "You are who you are today because of the choices and decisions that you made yesterday." And so I fully believe that, like, I am who I am today. I am the baddest motherfucker on the planet because of everything that I have done and everything that I've been through. And so I have zero regrets, zero. I would not change a single thing. If I could go back and give my 20-year-old self counsel or advice, it would be to shut the fuck up and listen to people. Ask for help. I was very, very, very prideful. I was very arrogant. I was very egotistical. I had a lot to prove. No dad around things, got to be the man. I got to win. And I never asked for help. I never asked for guidance. And more than that, I never listened to people. I was just a bull in a fucking china shop who couldn't lose. And I'm glad that things happened the way that they did. I'm glad that I got my ass handed to me financially, emotionally, psychologically, you know, because it brought me to this place. I mean, sometimes you got to be brought to your knees, man. And, you know, I am who I am today because I was. But if I could go back and give my younger self counsel or advice, it would be shut the fuck up and listen to people and ask for help.
Fuck yeah, man. Are you hopeful for the future?
Oh, dude, I'm so excited. I think hope is a terrible fucking plan. I think hope is absolutely terrible. We could go off on politics and the whole thing, but I think what's happening right now, let me rephrase that. I know what's happening right now in our culture and our society is absolutely fucking brilliant. It's exactly what needs to happen. It's exactly what should be happening because it's exposing people. It's exposing people. It's opening people up to conversations that have never been had before, to realities that we haven't explored before, to think about how many cool conversations you've had as a result of the turmoil or the chaos, if you will.
Absolutely.
To me, that's a beautiful thing. To me, you're seeing a lot of crazy shit happening. War is a very beautiful thing, man. It really is. In order for some things to live, some things must die. Like, in order for this season right now in Utah where I live, it's spectacular because all the fucking trees are dying. They're changing their leaves and they're ready to die. But it's so fucking beautiful, and they're going to die, and in the spring they're going to fucking come back. And so to me, it's like, it's not an issue of or an aspect of hope for me. I'm excited every day. I love what's happening. I think it's really, really, really cool. You can't really appreciate the light unless you've not had it. You can't really appreciate the joy unless you've had the pain. You really can't appreciate peace until you've been at war. And right now we're seeing a lot of everything, and it's making people really step back and look. And I think that's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing.
So I'm so glad you said that, because I've been spending the last couple months or whatever just being like, what in the fuck is happening, you know? And just, you know, like, it's a great point though, because like, well, maybe I need to change the story that I was telling there, because I was creating a lot of internal turmoil of like, dude, what's going to come next, dude? Like, these people are losing their fucking minds, and it's going to get ugly, you know? And I'm like, I'm preparing for it. Like, dude, I'm preparing for fucking war, you know? Like, because I don't know what the fuck's going to happen.
You should, and you should.
Right.
Make no mistake, you should. If anybody follows me on social media, I've been talking about this for a year plus. Yeah. I've been talking for a lot longer than that. Get your house in order. Get your house in order. My entire game right now is to be the warrior in the garden, not the gardener in the war. And what I mean by that, and the reason that plant medicine and meditation and these conversations are so fucking powerful and needed, is because if all of a sudden like something happened and you're not prepared, then you go into panic. Then you have a problem. But if all of a sudden your wife and you have had these deeply rooted, connected conversations, and the storm comes, you have a foundation. If you have money in the bank and you have the financial resources to support yourself, then you don't worry about the economy and things like this. If you know how to protect yourself physically, fighting, guns, whatever, you don't fear any of these other things. And so my entire philosophy is like, the reason that I appreciate peace is because I've experienced violence. And I've had 5 MMA fights, and I can tell you it's violent. It is fucking radically violent. And that's the reason I appreciate peace so much, is because I've had violence. And this is why, again, I continue to coach people and talk to people with Lions Not Sheep. Is like, get your house in order. Learn these things. Understand these things. Like, really, truly dive into becoming the baddest ass version of you. Things that you fear, go address those things, because then you no longer fear them. And so if you spend time in the deep end of the pool, you don't fear being in the deep end of the pool. If you've experienced violence and trained violently, you have a lot less fear of violence. Like, I'm the dude at the bar, whatever. I'm like, come on. You know what I'm saying? Where everybody else wants to, the dude who's typically puffing his chest the most is the dude who's going to fall the fastest, right?
Right.
But I truly believe right now is the time where people like really turn inward, get your houses in order, get your family in order, talk to your kids, man, understand what's going on, plant your feet someplace. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't have an idea or a position or a connection to what's going on, how do you teach your kids and train your kids? Because make no mistake, they're being inundated with a fucking insane amount of information. Shit that we didn't have to deal with when we were kids.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was explaining to my kids payphones the other day. I swear to God, it was the funniest conversation ever. I was like, do you guys know what, I was sitting at lunch. I was like, do you guys know what pagers are? They're like, pagers. No. I was like, you don't know what a beeper is? Like a beeper. And none of my kids had any clue. And I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, here's what a beeper is. And they're like, wait a second. Like, so how did you call from it? I'm like, you can't. It would beep and it would show you a phone number. Then you go to a payphone. And you put money in and you call. And they're like, well, I swear to God, my middle son, at 14 years old, Dad, what's a payphone? I was like, holy shit. I'm failing my children. I'm like, you guys know what Fraggle Rock is, right? Like the Smurfs are, right? Like, you know, these. Anyways, it was to think that our kids are going to be in this same isolated reality like we were is not true. So Get involved with your kids. Get involved. Every single man should be training his fucking fist to fight. Every single man should be experiencing violence on a regular basis to become comfortable there. Every man should be in a coaching group or a consulting group or a mastermind of some sort to be leveling up his finances, to get his house in order. Because there might be a fucking civil war. There literally might be, you got to put your body armor on and fucking get your guns and get your family up into the hills. It might happen. But to me, again, that's beautiful. It's beautiful because that means something's changing, right? So, yeah, I could go on and on and on about that forever, but I love what's happening right now. I think it's amazing. I hate seeing the innocents fucked with as much as we're seeing. You know what I mean? Like people just want to eat lunch. Stop fucking with people. Stop breaking into businesses and stealing and looting and stuff like that. But it's a really cool time to be alive.
Yeah, and it's really showed me like who my friends are and who like my people are. You know what I mean? Because like if you post something or whatever, and it's like, people instantly want to, virtue signal or whatever, and they want to just throw you out because you're voting for Trump. I'm automatically a racist, or I'm that. Okay, you show me who you are. I don't need you in my life. Perfect.
Well, this goes back to, again, not right or wrong, right? Is it possible? I mean, we could talk, again, I know we're wrapping everything up, but like just think about politics, like Trump. Is it possible that he's the best thing to happen to this country? But John, just stop and ask yourself, is it possible? Because this country has been going in a really interesting way for a long time where our taxes are, you know what I'm saying? Like we're not thriving as a culture and as a society, right? And I always tell people, the thing about Trump that's funny and hilarious is if you look behind the scenes, you look like, I always try and look behind. I don't read the headlines and the whole thing. I want to know what's behind it. Why did he really say that? Who's really saying it? Who's really behind some of these things? It's really fascinating that, like, this is a dude who's fucking loaded, man. I mean, he already owned a jumbo jet. Like, he didn't have a jet. He had a fucking jumbo jet with his name on the side. He has wealth, billions of dollars, the cushiest lifestyle ever. Beautiful wife, kids, plays golf. Like, who the fuck would sign up for the job that he has right now? You got to be half mad. Either that or you actually got to fucking care. And to me, again, we could go on and on. I don't want to, this is going to turn into a 4-hour podcast. But like, that's something that I look at is like, for me, I'm a Trump fan.
Yep.
Because of that. Does he always say the right things?
No.
Both. Or do we? Does he say some dumb shit? Absolutely. I say dumb shit all the time. But Sean, he should be. Now, motherfucker, you want a real dude in there or do you want a puppet? You want a real dude, so then you better expect real dude shit.
Yep.
But the leader should be different. The leadership, no, says who? Says who? I want to go to war with motherfuckers who are real. And it might not be pretty. It might not be the way that it's been done, but is the way that it's being done the last 50, 60 years helping you and I? So anyways, I love what's happening right now. I'm really, really, really excited about it. And, maybe it's because my house is in order and I got a lot of bullets and I got a lot of guns and I've got some cash stashed and I have a plan and whatever. But, it really is a cool time to be alive. I think if people kind of reframed and looked at it that way, like what's the beauty in all of this? Like what's really happening in all of this that's good? You know what I mean? Then you just start seeing good in things. And I see a lot of good in what's happening right now.
That's a great perspective. But man, I want to thank you so much, Sean, for being willing to come on the podcast and share your story with me. And it's incredible. And like, there's so many like pearls of wisdom that you shared that you probably don't even realize right now, but I'm digesting them right now. I know the people who are listening to it are going to do the same. So thank you so much. What's the best way for people to connect with you?
this was a great conversation. So thank you. I enjoy good conversations like this. It was actually a really great conversation. I haven't talked about plant medicine really at all. So you obviously brought the conversation there. So that was really cool. Just SeanWhalen.com, lions.sheep.com. You can find me, you can find, everything that I'm up to and coaching and stuff like that.
Awesome, brother. Well, thank you so much, man. I hope you have an awesome day, man. Look forward to connecting with you soon, man.
Thanks, bro. You too.
All right, brother.
Thank you for listening to My Backstory. Stay motivated and stay connected off the show. Follow at my_backstory_ to be a part of the journey to recovery and to see where your story goes. Or visit us online at hereismybackstory.com.